Hey, hi, thanks for joining me today. I will show you how you can, without a line of code, connect a little device like the one you're seeing up here to Azure IoT. And I said without a line of code. And that's interesting because usually, embedded development or device development requires knowledge about, a real-time OS or C code or drivers and things like that. In that case, everything is provided to you so that a 7 years old can do it. Yeah, no kidding. Actually, that dev kit I got to test that is called M5Go, and it says that it's for 7 and plus years old, and that actually in less than 60 seconds you can build an IoT application. So we'll see if we can do that. It's a very interesting little kit. Comes with some sensors, some actuators. They come in little cases like that, and the connector is a Grove connector. It's something which actually has a way of not putting it backwards. It's super simple. And so you have the main unit, which you can see here, which is like on my desk right here. And that main unit actually allows you to connect various things in there. It has a screen, which is a touch screen, a few buttons. It has LEDs as well. And actually it comes with the default firmware that if I go through, you'll see actually it has a speaker that's going to do something, the microphone as well that is listening, a gyroscope that if I move, you see the little dot is moving. It has RGB bars, so you see colors are actually starting to flash on the sides here. And it has an extension port where you can connect these other sensors that are not included in that main board. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the instructions as per the box on that, and we'll try and create an IoT application, and then we'll try and connect that to the internet, to Azure IoT to be more precise. So the first thing that I actually read on the documentation is to go to that website. So this website is called UIFlow. This is the interface for programming the device. And it's, as you'll see, all around Blocky, which is a very interesting way of having a visual way of programming. The company M5Stack added in that editor elements to the UI. There's a way to create a UI for the device with drag and drops. We'll do that. You can add what they call the units, which are the sensors. And then you have element blocks, actually, that you will be able to compose an application with. Up there, you have links for, the documentation. You can save your project and so on. So what we're going to work with is a non-code version. It's called Blocky. There's also a MicroPython version of the code that we'll not use today because we said no code, right? So the first thing that you have to do as per the documentation is to configure the connection with the device. The interesting thing here, I connected my device using a USB cable, but as you'll see, we will not need that after the first step. So let me click on that one, which is the settings for the application. It will require what they call an API key. It will allow you to select the language for the UI, eventually a theme, and then you pick the device. They have like different devices in the collection. And if you scroll down, you'll see there's links to the user manual, and there's this little tool called M5 Burner. As you know, it's pretty common. The first thing you will want to do is reflash or flash the latest version of the firmware. And you'll see that it's pretty straightforward as well. So let me actually I did install the burner. I will just get out of here. I'm going to bring up the burner right quick. This is a little application installs in Windows. And actually, it's pretty interesting because I was expecting to have, a file to go download somewhere and do drag and drops and have it a bit, complicated. It's not. That little tool actually allows me to pick between the various devices that they have in the collection. And then determine, which firmware I want. They have the basics, which is the one that I'm going to use for developing. And then they have some samples as well. There's a collection of samples. You can play chess on this little device. You can bet I tried the space shooter, and I also tried. There is actually how's it called? Sonic the Hedgehog game, and actually it's very playable. It's pretty impressive. Do not forget, this is a pretty beefy microcontroller we have on that. This is the ESP32 from Espressif. So you can do lots of things on that one. So no files to be downloaded. Just pick the device you want, pick the firmware you want to flash, do a download. I already have it, and I'm just going to hit burn. It's connected over USB, which actually is a serial connection, and I'm going to hit burn. Interestingly, it asks me to set up the Wi-Fi. So that way I don't even need to do anything, convert it, like making the device being an access point and whatnot. I will configure Wi-Fi. It's going to be burnt as a setting with my firmware. Let me actually do that, connect to my network, and it's starting the firmware flashing on the device. You see the device like went blank there, and now it's going to be flashing. It's going to take like about 20 seconds. You see, it's pretty fast. I didn't check the size of that flash, but yeah, pretty easy to have the device set up for development. Once it's done flashing, it's going to reboot, and it's going to show a UI that displays what they call the API key. So it's done, boom, resetting, and the device is up and running. Okay, so let's actually get out of here. What I'm going to do is actually I need to reset the device once, get into the settings. This is in the documentation, right? The default setup actually is not the one I want. What I want is switch mode, and I want to go into the oh, sorry, it's not the one. I want to go into the mode that is called, let's see, internet mode. Okay, and then I'm going to go back up and do a restart. Okay, so now I'm rebooting and I'm in a mode which allows me to have the device connect to the cloud, which is the UIFlow cloud, and exposes an API key. So at this point, I can actually disconnect the cable here. The device has a battery, and will be just, connecting to the internet and exposing that key. You see a little couple dots on top, or icons on top. One is for the network connectivity, and the other one is for the got some reflection here, no, and the other one is for the connection to the cloud, right? So I started the application, which is the one that I will program with, or I will compose my application with. So let me actually go down there and enter that key, which is 04890E45, right? So it's unique to the device. And that's pretty much it. And so here it's going to try and connect the device. It says it's connected. So the device here has no cable. It's connected through the Wi-Fi to the cloud, and I'm programming that device in that UI. So the first thing I want to do is add a title. So I'm going to start composing that thing. I like to have a color that is vivid, that is very visible, or I keep blue, it's fine here. I'm gonna do something which will be actually monitoring my room temperature, right? So let me call that my room, and that's gonna be the text, and the title will be my room here, okay? And that's pretty much it done, right? So now the next thing I'm gonna do is add a label. The label here will be the label for temperature. That's going to be text temperature. Okay. And if the font is a bit bigger, there you go, temperature. Well, I'm going to actually do that one. You see, I think line everything's pretty comfortable. I'm going to change that one to humidity. And the last one's going to be pressure, right? So we got that. And this one will be pressure here. Okay. I'm going to be straight line. Okay. I'm going to need labels for displaying value, right? We can see that one. It's going to be text. This one's the one. This one will sort of okay. And line up here. Let me go to copy. Duplicate. One, two, here. This one's going to be txt humidity. And then the third one is going to be, guess what? Txt pressure, right? Okay. So I have my UI done, right? So here you see a UI. I didn't have to code anything, and that's going to be the UI for my device. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to read the values from sensors and display them in those little labels. So I connected to my device. I connected a temperature sensor over the Grove connector on the port A of my device. So let me add a unit here, and that's the N2 sensor I have, and it's on port A. I'm going to say OK. And here, now the UIFlow application knows that I have a little device that's been connected. If I go to units, now I will see there is this environment sensor that has been added. So I guess now what I will need is a loop, right? Because that's what we need. And the loop will be repeating while true. That's an infinite loop. And there's a timer I need to add, and I'm going to wait every second and do a refresh every second. Pretty straightforward. Now I need to change the text, right? So what I will do is, if I look at the UI, I have different titles and labels that have been added, right? So if I look at the labels that are available here, I can set the label to a certain value. So let me actually set a label to a certain value. Let me see. So label temp show something. And for the something, I'm going to go to the sensor and I'm going to ask for the temperature here, right? So let me actually duplicate that block. And this time for the humidity one, oh, sorry, that was actually text temp, text humidity. What I need is not this one, actually. I need the humidity for the second one. And I will actually do the third one, which is the pressure, text pressure, and then go to this guy, pick the pressure. Okay, so here I have something that should be displaying temperature, humidity, and pressure. Let me deploy that application, clicking on that, it deploys over the web, and boom, I have an IoT application on that little device that displays temperature, humidity, and pressure, 0 lines of code. Pretty straightforward. So that's fun, but that's not it, right? Because now we need to, and we want to have that information sent to the cloud. The device has Wi-Fi connection, as we've just seen, and also has a bunch of things. So you've seen here things that are about the user interface, about the hardware that we have around the main board. The units that I just added one for now. They have what they call modules, and in modules we have some interesting things here. You'll see that you can extend the device here with different things you can purchase to add LoRaWAN capabilities or to have some servos to control some PWMs and whatnot. GPS as well. So you have different hardware modules you can add and connect that main board onto. And if you scroll down, you have advanced modules, blocks, and then third-party ones. In the advanced one, there are very interesting bits and pieces, right? You can actually extend this IoT application to connect to UART, to PWM, to a bunch of things, I2C as well. And one that is very interesting for us today is MQTT, because that's the one we're going to use to connect the little device to Azure IoT. And you'll see it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to bring that init block here for the MQTT client. And before I forget, I'm going to use the MQTT start just after here, right? And I need a certain number of information here to connect to an IoT Hub. I will need a client ID. I will need a server name. These are all the classical MQTT connection information. So I have an IoT Hub that I've created. I'm lucky enough. So here in my Azure portal application, I have this IoT Hub that's been created. And I will actually, from this one, because I want to play around with the device and the data, I will go to the shared access policies. I will get the IoT Hub owner policy, and I will copy that from here. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to use that connection string to configure another tool, which is called the Azure IoT Explorer. That's going to be my development tool for connecting to the IoT Hub, managing the devices, adding a device, monitoring the data coming from that device, getting the connection strings to configure the device, and so on. So I am already connected to my IoT Hub. You can connect several IoT Hubs to the tool. And here you see this no device. Let me actually create a new device. It's going to be called my M5 stack. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to use the symmetric key authentication type and create the device. So here a device identity has been created and we have credentials that have been generated. So I'll get back to that in a second. One of the information I will need is the client ID. And so the client ID happens to be the device ID here. So pretty straightforward. The server is what we call the host name. And so the host name is actually the first part of the IoT Hub connection string. And if I go back to this little guy here, you see here I have Olivier Demo Hub. That's my IoT Hub. And if I look at the connection string here, you can see that there is the name of the IoT Hub .azure-devices.net. This is what we call the host name, right? So let me actually use that as the server name here, okay? The port I need to use to connect to IoT Hub over MQTT is going to be 8883, right? That's by convention. We have a nice document that actually explains what we're doing there. I'll get back to user and password. Keep alive, I need 120. That's my convention. And we'll talk about SSL as well. So the user actually will be an interesting one. User will be a composition of the server name / device ID. So the host name actually and the device ID. So let me actually just write it down. It's going to be faster here. Let me actually do that and copy that / and I say the device ID, right? Obviously, I would do that in a smart and nice way with variables and so on. But here, for the sake of time, I can just do that rapidly. The password is going to be a bit more complicated. Okay, so the password here is something that I will get from the IoT Explorer tool. So what we need is to generate a token that allows the device to authenticate to IoT Hub based on a key that has been shared, which is called the shared access signature. So we have this shared access signature, but then we need to generate a token, which is a hash of the specific encryption. The device itself doesn't especially has a resource, at least through that UI I'm using. So I'm going to generate a token that is valid for a certain amount of time, like if it had been generated on the device itself. So I'm gonna actually do that in the tool. I'm gonna pick the symmetry key, the primary one. The expiration, let me actually do something which is more than just 1 minute, and I'm gonna generate a SAS token string. And actually, I'm gonna copy that. And the part I'm gonna need in there is gonna be part of it only, which is the part which is after, well, let me see, we're going down, shared access key is that, oh, not this one. I did copy it, my bad. So let me actually do this here. I'm going to bring this little guy here. I'm going to just like paste that one here. And you can see here that the shared access key or the token has been created, has the host name, has device ID, and then has shared access signature. What I need is everything which is just after that, okay? I'm going to copy that part here, and that's going to be my password for the device to connect. So let me actually go back to this UI. The password is going to be this, okay? So here I have a username, a password. I have the client ID. I've got a server name, the port, the keep alive. One more thing, SSL. So we need to establish a secure connection over TCP from the device to Azure IoT. And for that, I will need to have a cert. And there's a little trick as well here. I don't have access to the underlying OS. I'm in a Blocky, user interface. I don't know if the certificate has been flashed in my firmware or whatnot that I need. So here's a little trick. There is in our open source SDK, device SDK for C, there's a file that actually has the Baltimore certificate, in clear here. And so the little trick is to copy this section. So if you go to my blog post, you'll have all the links and details. You copy that little section here, and you go and edit that into a text editor. You remove all the quotes, you remove everything to just keep that, right? Begin certificate, all the blurb in there, no carriage returns, and certificate, and you save as a PEM file, .PEM. That's a file that is used to install certificates on machines and or keys. So in that case, it's going to be a full cert. And once I have this file has been created, what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload that to my application. Let me actually try and find where that was. I think I did put that in docstamp as usual, and I have my little certificate file here, and I'm going to pick it as soon as it's uploaded. Oh, there you go. Uploaded, done. Okay. So I have what I need to connect the client to Azure IoT. Hopefully everything works there. So the next thing I need to do is to send a message up to the cloud. So what is that message going to be? How about we will create a message, and then we will, based on temperature, humidity, and pressure, and then we'll send it. So I don't need to really spend too much time at, creating something fancy. So let me actually publish. And I'm going to publish to a specific topic. So the topic is going to be a composition of several things. So there's going to be devices as the first word. Then there's going to be my device ID, my M5 stack. And then there's going to be messages, lowercase, and then events, right? That's the MQTT topic that we're going to publish telemetry onto, so that on the back end, we know it's telemetry. The IoT Hub will know it's telemetry there. And the message will be that composition. Let me actually create a variables for that. It's going to be easier. I'm going to create one. I'm going to call that message, okay? And then set message to. Let's do that here. And I'm going to say the text is going to start with this. Let me actually see which one I need. This one is interesting. Okay, so I'm going to use that. So I'm going to compose. Oh, actually, I'm going to do that well. Let me actually create a little mini JSON. I'm sure there's a better way to do that, but let me do it here. I'm going to have this guy here. I'm going to add another of these exact same thingies here, like that. So temperature, I'm gonna actually here add the value that I'm reading from the sensor. So where are you, man? Oops, it disappeared on me. Where's my unit? Oh, here, unit. Okay, the temperature will be there, and then I need to add one second here. So here I have temperature, and then on the right, humidity. Okay, this guy's not temperature I want is the humidity here. There you go. And after that, I'm going to add the same as this one. Here. Okay. And then this one will be pressure. And okay, oops. And that's my end here gets the pressure. Okay. I'll conclude the piece of text here, which will be the closing of the JSON. So here I have a message that's going to be temperature, colon the temperature, comma humidity, colon the humidity, comma pressure, colon the pressure, and closing brackets, right? So here, I just need then to send that variable up to the cloud, okay? Should be fine. Everything should be working. We'll see that's the case. The device is still connected, still, as you can see up here, showing temperature, humidity, and so on. I'm going to deploy this new application, but before I do that, I'm going to go to my IoT Explorer tool. I will go to the device itself, which is this little guy here, and I'm going to click on telemetry, and we'll start the monitoring of the telemetry. And I'm going to go back to my device and hope I didn't mess up the code. And I'm going to deploy this new application. It actually successfully deployed. It starts doing its work of getting the temperature, humidity, and pressure, and boom, events are flowing up to Azure IoT Hub, and all of that in a matter of minutes. Like everything was live, and you know, without a single line of code. So that's very interesting. Everything using Blocky, a little MQTT client in there, some tricks in terms of getting the right settings or the right authentication bits and pieces, and then my little M5 stack is talking to Azure IoT. I really hope you enjoyed this little demo, and if you want to try it out, check out my blog that you can find at olivierblock.com, olivierbloch.com. Thanks a lot for watching this demo. Talk to you soon. Bye.